Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed visiting our expo booths. Moving on to our next discussion, CIO's perspective, role of technology in evolving pharma and healthcare industry, for which I would like to welcome Tushar Zadeh, Chief Information Officer and Chief Digital Officer, Origin Pharmaceutical Limited, Narendra Saini, Chief Digital Officer and Data Officer, Lupin Limited, Suresh Nadar, Group Chief Information Officer, Dr. Batraz Group, Abdullah Salim, Group Chief Information Officer, Omni Hospitals, Devanand Keti, Regional CEO, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, Cluster Aster, DM Healthcare. A very warm welcome to you all. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Devanand Keti, Regional CEO, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, Cluster Aster DM Healthcare, who will be moderating the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shivani. Before we start, may I request Ms. Salim to put on mute? I think some background sound is coming. Mr. Salim, yeah. So, good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today for the Elets CIO conclave. And it's a very interesting panel. We have two people from the healthcare side and two from the pharma. So we get, even though these are two sides of the same coin, pharma and healthcare, we get to see different perspectives, what is working in healthcare and pharma from this eminent panelists who are subject experts in their domain. So we have a wonderful panel, so I'm really excited. And the topic also is equally an interesting topic on how technology is getting leveraged in the healthcare and pharma industry. So already there was some lag in terms of some, network issues, and also without much delay, I go into the panelists directly. So I would like to start with Mr. Tushar, who represents Origin Pharmaceuticals Limited. So, Mr. Tushar, we have seen a lot of things, breakthroughs coming in the pharma healthcare industry in terms of technology. We are witnessing a lot of innovations coming in, and we have also started adopting a lot of technology into the day-to-day basis operations of the pharma and healthcare. So, since you come from the pharma background, I would like to know from you what are the things, or what are the ways in which technology is really impacting the pharma industry. So, I would like to know your thoughts on that, please.
Sure. So, from a impact perspective, I think before I go to the question, I think first of all, thank you so much, Dave. Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi Gupta, Rehan, everyone from the Elets team for putting up such an eminent panel and having me over here to just share my thoughts, my opinion. So overall, from an industry standpoint, if you look at it, there is a paradigm shift, surely, from the traditional way the industry used to work now towards the whole digital game changer. Right? So I would call them as game changers because these are important things for each and every industry in the long run. Overall, if you look at it, even in the healthcare space, there's a lot of technology interventions coming in, thanks to the health tech boom, which is there in the industry as of now. And also there is in the boardroom also the discussions have changed a lot. Now the CEOs ask us that, okay, if I give you $1 million, how much will you give me back? Will you get me back $20 million at the end of the project? Then our thinking has also now aligned to the whole business strategy. At the end of the day, if you look at any business, I usually take this example whenever I talk. So every business is divided into three broad buckets, right? The first bucket is increasing your market share. That is to acquire more and more customers, reach out to more and more customers as you could. The second bucket is giving the customers the best in class experience. This is where you talk about the satisfaction level of the customers. And third is around productivity. Now, productivity can be replaced by efficiency, can be replaced by profitability. A lot of things are bundled in this last bucket, right? So digital and technology as a game changer is now cutting across all the three buckets. I'll tell you examples of each and every bucket so that you can relate to what I'm trying to say. One is on the market share piece. Now you can imagine more and more customers you are able to reach with the whole digital stuff. Earlier you were able to reach to a limited set of audience. Now you are there is no limit. You can grow exponentially. You can explore LinkedIn. You can explore your digital marketing stuff. You can run campaigns across the board. You can do a lot of things, right? With the whole digital marketing kicking in. So your market share is not limited to a region, is not limited to a country. That market share is also now becoming global, thanks to whole digital boom what is there in the industry. Second bucket, like I was mentioning, is around the customer satisfaction. Now, once you are tied up with a customer, we want that particular customer to be stuck to us, right? We don't want that customer to go to a competition. How do you do so? Is by increasing your NPS, your Net Promoter Score, by increasing the satisfaction level of a customer. How will you measure it? Now, if we look at the industry today, even at the healthcare and pharmaceutical space, many of the customers they are inclined to have a real-time view or to understand what is happening with the products, to have a visibility. They like talking to a chatbots these days. So the touch points with the customer are also digitized to a larger extent, is what I can say, Dave. From the productivity standpoint, which is the third and important bucket, now here, if we look at it from a employee perspective, a lot of things are now digitized using the whole technology landscape or the stacks, whatever we have, a Microsoft stack, we have SAP stack, we have X, Y, and Z. So the industry has now also changing gears. Now the boardroom discussions are also they are talking about digital and analytics, right? And how a project powered by a digital is going to save my people's time, or how it is actually going and changing the transformational part of the business, right? Just to give a couple of examples, maybe a small project can yield you a time saving of 30% or 40%, right? So all that calculation, which was not there earlier, is now happening. From a game changer perspective, which was the original question, I think three important things which has now impacted largely in the healthcare space. One is the whole IoT devices coming into play. Now, monitoring of a patient is not happening just in ICU. The monitoring of the patient is happening every time, every day, everywhere, at his home, in the ambulance, in the clinic, in hospital, in ICU, you name it, and we are monitoring the patients, right? So we are following the patient wherever he goes, and what all the life cycle of the patient is getting digitized with the whole IoT kicking in. That's the first and foremost important game changer which is impacting. Second is around. I'll talk from the pharmaceutical space. Now, automation initiatives like RPA, robotic process automation. Now, tools like RPA are actually replacing the human intelligence for doing the mundane job, and the robot is coming and sitting and doing the same thing for you. So you can imagine again, a lot of processes are streamlined there, which is also a very important game changer for the pharmaceutical and healthcare space. And the third and most importantly, which I love to speak about, and I can go on for us, is the advanced analytics piece. Now, this is where we talk about the whole AI ML engine coming in, and the state which every CIO CDO is looking for is to reach the prescribability. Systems should have the ability to prescribe, not only to predict, not only to prevent, but to prescribe something based on the data what you have gathered in your RPA and your IoT and all those ERPs what you run in the backend. Based on the data, how can you actually use analytics to predict and to prescribe that, hey, look, this is the optimum speed you should run your machine with. Based on that, your productivity will increase by 10 times or whatever metric you take. So these are the three game changers. One is IoT, another is automation, and the third one is the advanced analytics.
Thank you, Mr. Tushar. Very interesting insights. But so you are saying probably by adopting the predictive analysis, you are almost hinting that the doctors will become jobless in future. That is something that may happen in future. So we'll all be jobless actually. Even the CEOs may not be required to run a hospital. So anyway, so very interesting perspective. We'll come back to you to have a little more detailed analysis on that. But the same question, since you are giving more largely on the pharma perspective, I also want to ask the same question to Mr. Salim, who is representing the healthcare here. So, Mr. Salim, the same question. What are the things that the ways in which technology has really impacted healthcare, as according to you?
First, I would like to thank the Elets to invite me for this panel discussion, and thanks to all the panelists who have joined here. And I think that Tushar has given a very deeper insight, which is very common for not only for the pharma, for the any other industries, but Pharma has adopted the technology much better than healthcare, where the pharma works on the collected data, and whereas the hospital collects the data and then works and then and do the research kind of things, and then the share across the different industry. Industry in the same segment. So, as per me, if you'll see that uh, the changes of the technology which has given a biggest impact of technology has to offer in the healthcare sector is easier and faster access to the information required for both healthcare professional and patient. No longer do hospitals and doctors need completely rely on the need to keep the physical records. Our patients, with the introduction of clinical digitization, that is in the form of EMR and EHR, and the lastly is the PHR. So, if we'll, as per me, I would like to put some bulleted points here, which will itself self-explanatory, that it will give that how this technology has added and empowering the industry, especially the healthcare. Though it is the minimum technology adopter before the pandemic, but after pandemic, it is the one of the industry which is adopting the technology faster than any other industry. So if you'll see that the impact of the to the healthcare industry, mostly during COVID and post-COVID, it has impacted in the following areas, which say the which one is the better treatment equipment and medicine, easily accessible medical information on that front. A large presence on social media means leveraging social media to improve the patient to improve the patient experience, improve lines of communication among patient, clinicians, and the healthcare organization, faster results, improve relationship with patient. It helps to predict outbreaks, where we are talking about the predictive analytics. The people are talking about analytics, IoT. The IoT has got a different technology which is being largely accepted by the industry, especially one of the component called predictive analytics, which is being adopted on a large scale. And then accelerate cost saving. Without technology adoption, is impossible to the healthcare organizations to optimize their cost. Big data and research, and this is again, it is going to help you to accelerate the cost saving and ensure that the patients are being treated with the quality healthcare. And then patient power, mobile health and education, that sector it has empowered a lot. Security, privacy and monitoring has come in the picture. Safety, security and regulation has come in the picture. Solving the right problems in the right time. Enhance and bionic humans. Next generation sequencing has been improved a lot and is playing a vital role now after the getting the technology adopted. 3D printers device also helping a lot. Artificial intelligence, AI, that Tushar has given a bit deeper insight. Without this, if any application which has not been adopted, the artificial intelligence become a nightmare for the hospital to consolidate the meaningful data, and adoption becomes a huge constraint from the end users. Point of care diagnostics is very important, which has been improved a lot. Virtual reality, that is retail clinics in terms of telehealth, telemedicine, health applications, which has come up on a large scale to ensure that the individuals are being kept themselves fit. And the last one, the biosensors and trackers. So these are the area where the industry has impacted down at the organization perspective, was who are enhancing, who are putting their workflows and ensuring that the workflow is driven based on the AI, IoT rather than the manual. The doctors is going to do the manual cribbing the prescriptions. So that's where as per me, this is the
Thank
area
you.
that
Thank you, Mr. Salim. Thank you. I think
the
you have enumerated a lot of areas where the technology is playing a vital role in the healthcare space. So thank you so much for that. I think you have given a mass a list of items that is really getting applied now. So that takes me to the next panelist, who is Mr. Suresh. He represents the biggest network of the homeopathic, the chain, Dr. Batras. I think the largest hospital that operates on homeopathy, which is something which usually we don't get this kind of an input in such forums. Usually when I do a panel, usually the allopathic side is usually come together. So this time, I think somebody is representing homeopathy. I'm happy. So we would like to know what are the kind of best practices or trends that you have adopted in the healthcare space in terms of technology, especially on the we would be really interested to understand what the homeopathic side of medicine really tries
Yeah.
to implement that. Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
Mr.
thank you.
Suresh.
Thank you for that, opportunity. Mr. Tushar and Mr. Salim has detailedly explained that, the technology, what is going to be a future. That's what they explain. But only, when you specifically ask that, homeopathy. So homeopathy is the long-term solution. In my, the patients are, the life cycle of the patient is more than 10 years also with us. Almost 1 lakh patient every month we are connecting. So you can understand that what level of data we might have, what might of analysis has to be done. So now the both of my earlier speaker talk about that technology, how it is helping for the illness people. I mean that who are already ill. How are you going to treat them? How are you going to connect them? How are you going to collect the data and all? So, but I am going to talk about, since it is a homeopathy point of view, we are always talking about illness to wellness. So nowadays people are very health conscious. So Google, you can see that most of the searches, because we used to take a discovery things, what is the people are searching for healthcare. So most of the people are now talking about the wellness. I mean how to prevent them. The prevention is better than cure. That's the level of things are going. So my topic, my the trend perspective. So now we have to holistic healthcare solution, some technology piece we have to give. How the banking industries and all, based on that customer behavior, they are building and giving that personalized service like that. Likewise, the healthcare industry, that now the trend is moving towards wellness side. So nobody want to become ill. I mean before that, what are the things has to be done, make them to fit and all. So now we our chairman Dr. Padmashri Mukesh Patra has recently initiated the project like Ghar Ghar Pe Homeopathy, whereby that wellness will be taken care, because that is the slogan we started that. Now we are working on that. That is a trend now towards that. See, as in my both the speaker earlier spoken very nicely, so that the different app is going to come up on the wellness perspective. Lot of data is going to be collected from the patient. Because for example, now that lot of wearable devices are available, it can give how many steps he walked today, and what are the diet he took, what is the blood pressure, what is the sugar level, everything. So all the data will come to the center center, and the data will be analyzed under the the model. I mean that both the speaker nicely spoke on prescriptive, descriptive, the technology perspective. This all the data will be analyzed, and the personalized, maybe what is required for him to make it fit. So now the industry is moving towards that direction. So for that, the technology that artificial intelligence, machine learning, all going to be extensively going to be used in the healthcare industry. And Mr. Salim has rightly said that they have worked on collected data. So the healthcare industry is working on collecting data. So the data is going to be continuous. The artificial intelligence, machine learning, everything is extensively going to be used in future. That is a trend. That's what wellness and collected data, analyze, and the personalized solution for individual. That's what the trend right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suresh. Gar Gar Pe Homeopathy, very good slogan. I think focusing more on wellness using technology is something which we will also try to adopt something like that. In allopathy, when you go, people have a misconception that the moment we go for wellness, health checks and all, there are movies made projecting that as a scam. You have seen that the health checks are done basically to get somebody diagnosed for something and then get them back to hospital. Yeah, so there are movies which actually go against the wellness, and that awareness among the public is still has to really catch up. So
But
that
in our
takes,
thing, correct.
yeah,
Whatever the things new patients are coming to our organization, we are telling that we are not selling any product. Whatever the family members, please come and take the preventive medicine to take care of that. So that's the reason we
yes,
are used to take a family, chart, like, who are all in the family, what is the ailment, problem, everything. It's not a selling pitch, but, from the wellness point of view. Thank you.
no, that's an excellent step. Actually, it's very good. Actually, when most of the healthcare organizations also should look at it on a future perspective. I think wellness is something which has to come in. Otherwise the load of the burden of the diseased population coming to hospitals will be massive. Will not be able to handle, which COVID has really shown us recently. So that now I just move on from this interesting topic. I move on to Mr. Narendra, who represents one of the biggest pharma in India, this Lupin. So you are heading the information technology for Lupin, Mr. Narendra. So I just wanted to know what is the new role of a CIO. New role, when I say, a lot of changes have happened after the pandemic has come in. The role of a CEO has become more evolved, and there, like Mr. Tushar mentioned, now more discussions are happening on how technology can be leveraged in impacting the customers or the organization better. So how do you rate yourself, from a pre-COVID and a post-COVID era, the role of a CIO has evolved? Would like to know your insights.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. For first of all, thanks for inviting me to the panel. Well, I think the key intervention. I think my colleagues over here spoke about customer focus particularly. We're also looking at the technology leadership. It's something that continues, evolution that happens in technology space, and how we can adopt that one. Then internal efficiency, that has always been the focus. I think it's more than ever with the disruption in supply chain that has happened because of the COVID. We really have to look at how we can build alternate supply chain, and also the build efficiency further into the system. Then digital talent management is another challenge that I can talk about. We have been used to of working with people in plant, in office, but in last couple of years we've been working remotely. Almost everyone has been working remotely. So it's a digital talent management. Is not just pure play talent management now. To support many of these things, we really have to look at data-oriented target state architecture, which means than the conventional IT architectures that we have had. We need to somewhere build more data orientation in this one, more data centric, and also wherever possible, we need to also add the federation or federated ecosystem that way. Another thing that is changing because of the technology, and also that I talked about data, centric target state. The delivery methodology is changing from the large program to more, agile way of delivering things. Smaller use cases, smaller, user stories, and to be able to independently test these things, to be able to do, program management with flexibility and agility. These has been the major challenges or changes for in last couple of years. The technology is changing, fast changing, the overall space of pharma and healthcare for that matter. We're looking at digital and data foundations, which are very very critical to the success, and to be future proofing basically. And that digital foundation would mean building up data lake and data warehouse, data mart that we can talk about. But we really have to see that we don't really create data swamps. That's very very important part. So very intelligently build the digital foundation. I think my colleagues already talked about machine learning, AI, machine learning part already. RPA, I think, even TG talked about robotic process automation part, right? Apart from that, we are also looking at the AR, VR, augmented reality, blockchain, enterprise mobility platform coming in, industrial IoT platform also coming in, more microservice based architectures being in place. So these are some of the things that has changed. So today the CIO or the CDO, the kind of role that I have, has to deal with plenty of technologies, plethora of a lot of challenges from the business side coming in. And also the positive change that we have had is that the acceptance of IT in the overall operations has also increased. So a lot of positive times and challenging times for us, but I think this is for good. Back to you, Devan.
Yeah, thank you. So just a question coming out from what your discussions were. So whenever you will be bombarded with a lot of technological initiatives, right? A lot of things coming in, a lot of innovations will be present by the partners, vendors. So how do you, what is the thing that you look for when you, before you take something, what is your, not the mode of selection I'm asking, what will be the priority of selection for you?
So, well, actually, lot of things that go in behind that there. So, experience definitely one thing, but we really need to see the business problem one. Okay, but the business problem is not the only thing that we need to really look at. We probably need to look at the associated areas of improvement that can also be impacted by a new technology intervention. We cannot really have a new technology introduced for every person or every business independently, right? So we need to really look at the stitching of the target state architecture in the backend. So while backend has to be more harmonized, the front end could be different business using in entirely different way. Maybe same set of data or different set of data set that we have, but their outcome may be entirely different depending on the contextualization of the data that we have. So yes, I think a lot of things we need to really fit in. The most important part is the to stabilize the target state architecture and to be able to bring in tools and technologies which fit in and make sure that it's not disrupted. It's basically evolved. So that's how we look at it.
Yeah, thank you. So this was just a different question which was connected to you because you were mentioning that a lot of things are coming now as a new innovations which we are really trying to use. So Mr. Salim, he was actually mentioning, Mr. Naren was actually mentioning on the pharma side of it in terms of a CIO evaluation. I actually operate 5 hospitals. So my team, I have a team who actually handles the information technology part of it. So I have as a CEO have certain requirements which the digital health has to give me in terms of better outcomes, the customer satisfaction, the things that has been mentioned by the panelists. So what as a CIO at your organization that you really embrace, or what is the role change that has happened to your role in the recent times?
Thanks, Devanand, for asking this question. I think every industry, the CIO and CTO roles has been transformed based on the organization need. Now the organization had understand that the business, the digitization, the value of the digitization to run their business is way ahead, and it is playing a vital roles to execute their business. If any industry and if any company, if they are not adopting this digital platform, means they will be far behind in the race. They have understood that. So based on that, earlier the CIOs were doing that. Okay, it was just an enabler to run the business, and it was a kind of a nice to have kind of approach were there in that. But now it has been a change from that must-have feature for the going the paper across the hospital, across the unit, to ensure that the safety, clinical errors has been stopped, patient safety has been improved, and patient delight has been achieved. So, if I'll say that, as in my opinion, if you'll see that, as per the current scenario, CIOs are transitioning from traditional IT services clearly to a more strategic role. IT is playing a strategic role in terms of the business growth. Across the health industry, it has been found that most CIOs are spending more time on aligning IT projects with business goals, leading business innovation, and leading organization change program. A CIO currently a CIO is the person of any organization behind today's digital transformation initiative, as well as their approach will decide the future innovation. But they face a continuous challenge to use the latest technology, to keep the inventing a new IT initiative to make the entire business process agile. CIOs are carrying the major responsibility on driving technologies changes. Those who are not willing to take the challenges to transform their business processes always carries a risk of becoming an ordinary player in the industry. So this is what the CIOs has been asked. CIO has been delivers the business organization. The leadership team is expecting from the CIO. The CIO has made the change management to decision maker, which says that customer experience is now clearly at the heart of the digital transformation, and digital is at the center of the customer experience. And most of the corporate hospitals have understood it, and they have defined it as their business goal. It is if it is so, then technology digitization must be on the top of their radar to adopt and to maintain their uh, uh, top line, bottom line, patient experience, patient satisfaction, and so on and so forth. So this is my perspective. This is my change,
Thank you.
which I
Thank
have
you, Mr.
transformed
Salim.
myself into the organization.
Thank you. So you are saying that technology orientation to business goals. That's what is the main content that I could read out. Yeah, ultimately business
Absolutely,
goals
absolutely.
has a lot of factors like satisfaction, outcomes. All those things will lead to a business goal. That's true. So thank you so much for that perspective. So now. We have seen the industry, whether it maybe it pharma or healthcare, struggling. In spite of having a lot of infra, and we have been progressively thinking to look at the future. Even the CIO, which with whom I work, which Vineet Purushothaman, who's the CIO for Aster DML Care, he was commenting that the COVID really accelerated the digital transformation in Aster. We also been thinking of many strategies to be implemented, but then COVID or the pandemic really pushed it. The acceleration button was, literally pressed when the COVID started. So similarly, do you think, Mr. Stage, has taught us a lot of things? Do you personally feel that are we really, robust enough to overcome any such issues in future in terms of the technology setting or the technology adoption in either pharma or healthcare? Mr. Suresh, you are on mute.
Yeah. Hello. Am I audible? Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So.
We can hear you.
Okay. So can you repeat the question, because I thought some technical.
Yeah, I'll repeat the question. See, the COVID has really taught us a lot of things, new things. The way technology is, implemented, adopted in all the organizations. Can you hear me
Okay.
clearly?
Yeah. Now I'm clear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now, So do you think, are we really ready? Are we really ready to face something like this in future with the kind of technology adoption that we already had? That was the question.
Yeah. Okay. So I can give my the story which has happened in the recent. How I managed and how we give a seamless service during the time. Also, I can explain that. See, in the digital transformation, that the first step is that IT uplift. So I was on the transition that almost all my components are up to date. I mean technology perspective. So I upgraded all the components. That helped me to handle that situations. For example, on the day my CEO has declared that Suresh, from tomorrow morning onwards, all the doctors will work from home and you have to provision everything, and our entire call center executive has to operate from home. How you will do, we don't know, but we want it as a problem thrown to me. So I know I'm confident, the organization system, I'm confident on that. Definitely we can deliver it, because even though I don't have a device like laptop and all, because we are clinic based everywhere, the desktop is there. So immediately I first confirm that everybody is having internet at home, then I can deliver it. That's the first point. So if the internet is not there, how can we purchase the dongle and all? That's the way we thought, the strategy point of view. So on the next day morning, all the 120 doctors were operating from home. All the 100 executives were taking the call from home. So there are, on the day of starting, there is a glitches, but next day onwards, how the doctor is serving to the patient in the clinic, the same services happen. So what I did was, what are the things are available with me right now, whereby I have to start it. Likewise, I don't want to take a technology name. Suppose video conference, I don't have. I found that toolkit is one of the tool immediately available. On top of that, open source, I can build that ready. Overnight, my technological team worked on that. Next day morning, they deliver that video conferencing tool for me. So that's the way the entire 1 lakh, the at least on the particular next day we are supposed to serve 2000 patients, so that seamlessly without any problem. So we able to serve. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that technology you have to up to date, whereby in such a situation happen, you don't need to you can seamlessly you can tackle that situations. That's the main point. So other than that, the process and all everything, that when you are moving to that home, so security point of view, I had a very very good solution to bringing the people in the SSL VPN and other product also. So the website also, now since and already I took that station that everything is called cloud. Likewise, the strategy was in place, whereby anytime anything has happened, we should be able to serve anywhere. That is a strategy. That's the way, since I was up to date and I was done that, that's the reason without any problem I was able to do that. So the digital things point of view, we have to keep our technology up to date. That's what the main point to tackle that future such incidents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suresh. Yeah, so when the challenge you faced, you have very aptly narrated the challenges faced by you, how you overcome, and then you feel that the technology upgradation has to be a routine process rather than waiting for something to happen. Yeah, that's very well valid point that you have mentioned. Yeah. So now with that, I go to Mr. Tushar, who has been it's my problem that I did not go back to him. So Mr. Tushar, I think you've been silent for some time. So you initially, when you gave the response, you were also talking about a lot of things, like in terms of the automation, the kind of productivity that we should look at, and how effectively you are using the digital tools to enable that. So I'm also very happy to see a very young CIO, in the group. Obviously, you're representing the young breed of CIOs who have emerged. That's very nice to see. So what are the things that you feel, what are the real technologies? Like, there are a lot of options for us to choose, like the AIs, data analytics, predictive analysis, or the remote monitoring, the IoTs. So a lot of things have come in, but how do you think these are all shaping up the future? How are we going to leverage this, or how do you think the technology is going to really, the predict the kind of future that we are looking at?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dave. So I think from an age perspective, I think I always look up to the Indian Armed Forces, where the frontline Jawans are led by 24 or 25-year-old officer, and he's the first one to take a bullet, and then the Sipai goes. So of course, with leadership, you start becoming more responsible, more accountable. And the moment I took up this role, definitely it was a challenge for me, because all my peers, my CEO, and everyone were quite are not that young, right? So at the end of the day, just to keep up with that, I had to make sure that I'm on top of my game, just to understand the nitty-gritties of the business and how I can join hands and partner with them. So, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to the whole capability and the capacity piece. So far so good, and I think starting young hopefully will take me longer. So thank you for that first compliment, but rather I would say. Now, coming back to the question, Dev, so for reimagining the whole pharma slash healthcare industry, I think I was reading an article somewhere that around 69% of the companies today are actually
just Mr. Tushar,
considering to.
Mr. Tushar, just Mr. Selim, I think you are not muted. I think some sound is coming from your side. Mr. Selim, yeah, you are on not on mute. No, no, no. I think you are.
I'm
Some
on
sound
mute.
was coming. Acha, okay, some sound was coming. So okay. So sorry to interrupt, Mr. Tushar. Please
No
go on.
problem. I hope now I'm audible well. Okay,
Yes,
okay, I'm
yes.
just going through. All right, fine. So I was just reading some article, like I was mentioning, around 69% of the CEOs today are looking at rescaling or upscaling and upskilling their manpower, right? So with upskill, now imagine a manufacturing sector where an operator is supposed to do a job of manufacturing medicines, right? Just a very vague example. Now that same person is also supposed to take up HMI, a human machine interface, and he's supposed to use some data which is coming from a data lake in the backend and giving him a prescriptive figures, right? It can be in terms of the parameters, it can also be in terms of some digital nudges which can help them to keep it to the optimum level, and you can run that same machine with optimum speed, right? So all this has now changed the way how we look at digital, right? Every company in the world goes through three different stages, right? And Gartner, I think, puts it very well that there are three systems. The whole landscape of every company are based on three basic systems. One is called a system of record. This is where you keep your ERPs or big CRMs in place, where you're capturing the data, you're capturing the records, right? So that is a system of record, which is very foundational for every company to start with. Right? Next, we're talking about something called system of differentiations. Now, system of differentiations are the ones where you have specific systems, specific best-in-class systems to cater to your specific business requirement, right? Just to give an example, in manufacturing space, it can be a manufacturing execution system. In laboratory space, it can be a laboratory information management system, hence and so forth. So first you set up your foundation, then you are putting your systems in place which will actually enable or which will actually digitize your core processes. On top of that, you start building system of innovation. All my co-panelists, whatever they spoke around data, around analytics, advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, these are all systems which are actually digitizing your core processes, right? So
I think we lost him. I think there's a bit of connectivity issue, I think. So we'll come back to Mr. Tushar. So Mr.
maybe
Narendra, I
go.
think, yeah, Mr. Tushar,
Yeah, I'm
are you
back.
back?
Sorry if there said there was some interruption.
Yeah,
I
no
hope you're
problem. No
able to hear
problem.
me now.
Yeah, please continue. Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry. So I was mentioning that the system of innovation. Now, this is where you are trying to
I think
increase, right?
the same.
Yeah. Now is it back? Sorry, I don't know what happened. All right. So I was saying the
Yeah,
system of innovation.
there
Now
is
this
some
is where
problem.
you are reaching the digital transformation layer, right? At the end of the day. So from a digital standpoint,
I think some network issue we are facing. This is
standpoint in any company, right? So I hope. I'm
yeah,
extremely
Mr.
sorry. My
Tushar,
network is really poor
some
because
disruption happening, Mr. Tushar. I
yeah,
think.
because I'm taking this from my phone. Unfortunately, my
Yes.
laptop was not connecting. So okay, I'll just wrap up in a minute. I'll just close my discussion. Seeing the space perspective, I was mentioning. Yeah. From a reimagining the space perspective, I was mentioning that the digital is playing two roles: business enablers, where earlier it was called as a support function. Now it is enabling the business. Right? It is helping you to do. All right. And the next one is we are also, the digital is also proving as a new line of business for many of the companies. I'm seeing many companies looking at digital and creating a new line of business altogether. So this yourself with the yeah, that's about it, Dave. I think my network is really poor. Sorry for
Yeah,
that.
thank you. So there were some disruptions, but I could make out is basically, the three systems that you are talking about: the system of record, the system of differentiation and innovation, and then you are also talking about the business enablers and the new line of business that the technology has created. So yeah, very, very, very insightful points. But we couldn't hear you properly. But then this is what I could make out of it. Yeah, very valid points. So, Mr. Narendra, I think you are also representing Pharma. So, I would like to ask you the same question. How do you think these new technologies or the new digital tools are really helping us, reimagining the future? Mr. Narendra, are you there?
Yep, can you hear me there?
Yes, yes, we can. Yeah.
So basically, I look at it in a different way. We need to address the business problem first, right? Technology has never been a challenge. If we really look at the digital tools and technologies, data lake, data analysis has been there for last 10 plus years. Right? But if we are not able to address the business problem, then all these technologies will not really have anything to do. So first is we need to build a roadmap. One is business roadmap and map the technology advances or technology adoption along with the business expectations to achieve that they are looking at, right? So that's what drives. So when you say the imagination and other things, I think it's the joint work. We are no more lubricating or support function to the business. We are now becoming the partner to the business, and that's how the things are changing, which is a very very positive change when it comes to the IT in the business overall. Having said that, I believe we still have to, we are moving from one boat to another boat, a smaller boat to a larger boat. We still have to tag along the smaller boat. We still have a lot of conventional part which we still have to take care. So we have to really, make the most of both the words. I can see the smile from Suresh as well. So he can probably relate pretty well to the things that we have to look at day-to-day things that we have been doing for last 15, 20 years. But at the same time, meet the business expectations. Like if his team was able to deliver within one working day, deliver working on the night and then next day delivery. It's something that expectations are changing. We are supposed to be more agile, and I think that's changing the overall things. But when it comes to the adoption of technologies, we have to solve the business problem. We have to meet the business expectations, and that's the key driving factor, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Naren. So that's very. So you are connecting the business problem is the starting point, and the technology has to be adapted. Both back end and the front end has to be adapted to the business problem. Then we all
Yeah,
coexist.
technology
Right.
is not a challenge. Technology today, we talk about the tensor flows. We talk about a lot of things. but can we really use it? We talk about
Yes.
augmented and virtual reality. Can you put it on a hospital? Can you put it to my end customer? Probably not. And if we can, we need to really find the right kind of a use case, right? We can talk
Yes.
about a lot of deep tech and the technology for that matter. I think it's again always the business benefit, the ROI conversation that goes around. And at our place, the place where we stand, I think we all have to look at the business case building up first before we adopt a technology. We bring in the technology that suits the business case.
Thank you, Mr. Naren. So we almost come to the end of the session, the panel discussion. So one wrap-up question to all of you. Probably you can respond in a minute's time, because we have to probably take some questions from the audience too, even in case they have posted anything there. So just one thing, like pharma and healthcare. When you look at it, this is, as I mentioned in the beginning, two sides of the same coin. Pharma and healthcare coexist in the same symbiotic environment, where a lot of research related things in terms of these supply chain management, in terms of the patient satisfaction. Pharma drugs has to be also productively utilized by a doctor, in usage of predictive analysis, as mentioned by Mr. Tushar. So a lot of things are there which can really help both these industries, the pharma as well as the healthcare, to coexist in a very symbiotic environment. So what do you think, can the digital technology or the digital tools really help in strengthening this relationship? So probably a 1 minute input from all of you, a quick wrap up. So I'll go with Mr. Suresh first.
See, digital. See, if you want to connect the consumer, or if you want to sell, you want to give services. Definitely, digital is the only medium left out. So, digital product will only help us, the care provider and taker, connect. So, I feel that that is true.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So same question to Mr. Salim. So how do you think we can strengthen this pharma healthcare relationship using technology? Mr. Salim, you're on mute.
Yeah, absolutely. Without, as I said, that the technology adoption is a must have component for the not only healthcare and pharma industry, but each and every industry. And it is going to bridge the gap between the consumer and the delivery company who is going to deliver in form of healthcare services, form of medicine, in form of XYZ, whatever it is. So without technology, it is impossible to plan your business, to execute your business, and to satisfy your customer.
Thank you, Mr. Salim. So over to Mr. Tushar. What do you have to say about it?
Okay, I hope this time you hear me well. All right. So for me, I think technology is all about scalability. It's all about speed. So with technology and digital, of course, you will have a better scalability for your business, and you will be able to deliver with a good pace and efficiency. So that is what technology brings to the table, Dave.
Thank you. So last but not the least, Mr. Narendra.
So I think very important aspect which also comes out from today's discussion is that our engagement channels are changing. Engagement channels, be it our vendors, be it our customers, everywhere we see throughout the overall value chain, the engagement channels are changing. They are becoming digital, and that's where digital seems to be the only option. What technology helps us is to bridge the gap, and to ensure that we think of these deliveries in a more innovative way, in a more faster and reliable way. And that's where I think technology and digital will continue to play that role. I think with the evolution of technology, we will probably have even better ways of delivering these engagements, right? And I believe we'll have a continuous relevance to stay in the business, right?
Just I want to
Thank you,
add
thank
one
you.
thing. Just I want to add one thing on
Yeah,
top of it. The
yeah, go
consumers
on, go
are
on.
the consumers are digitized if the consumers are digitized, then there's no choice that we cannot avoid the technology. So that's very simple funda. If the consumers are digitized, then there's no choice not to adopt the technology.
Yeah, well said, Mr.
Yes,
Sri.
very well said, very well said. So in Astro also we are looking at making their lives better. That's the business problem that Mr. Narendra was saying. Like, what are the issues faced by a customer coming to our hospital? We try to understand those problems and try creating solutions for that. So, say for example, a patient who has taken a prior registration walks into my hospital, again has to go to a registration counter. We are now trying to bring in a self check-in counters. So either they can do a mobile check-in when they reach the hospital, automatically the name comes in the HIS. So things like that, are coming in, which will provide more convenience to the patient. All the results, obviously all the results and things are now in cloud, so patients can download it anytime. Many hospitals have come with that. Telehealth has emerged as a big thing. A lot of newer things are coming in, which can really provide that convenience, improved care, satisfaction to the patient. So this is something which has really come out, and really got the acceleration after the COVID has come in. So I acknowledge the role of all of you, all the CIOs who have taken the lead, who have really been the front runners in push and customers have really got benefited. So I think we have come to the end of this wonderful panel. I think somebody from Elets is here, so we can close the panel and take any questions from audience if there are.
I guess there's no question from the audience, sir. And thank you so much, panelists, for giving the wonderful insights. I hope the viewers must have
Hello,
gained a lot
anyone
of
from
knowledge
Elets
today.
here? Rehan?
Also, I would request
I think
speakers to stay back to accept a
so.
small token of
We have almost come to
appreciation
the end
from
of
our
the
side.
panel now. I think there's some
Can we
problem. I
have the
think they were also
certificate?
mentioning about some connectivity issues. So this is something which keeps on challenging us, right? When all the time when we try to develop many things, there are certain deterrents also to really implement it. I
Thank you,
think, yeah.
Mr. Tushar Zadeh, Chief Information Officer and Chief Digital Officer, Origin Pharmaceutical Limited. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thanks.
Can we have the next certificate, please?
We are not able to see anything. Are you trying to communicate something?
Sir, we are sharing a token of
Hello.
appreciation.
I'm able to see
We
everything.
can see only. Yeah, I can see only Mr. Tushar's certificate being displayed here. It has not changed.
Sir, thank you, Mr. Narendra Sen,
Yeah, now.
Chief Digital Officer and Data Officer, Lupin Limited. Thank you for joining, sir. Thank you for sharing such invaluable insights. Next certificate, please. Thank you, Mr. Suresh Nadar, Group Chief Information Officer, Dr. Batraz Group. Thank you for joining, sir. Thank you, Mr. Abdullah Salim, Group Chief Information Officer, Omni Hospitals. Thank you for joining, sir, and sharing your valuable views. Thank you, Mr. Devanand Keti, Regional CEO, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh Cluster Aster DM Healthcare, for beautifully moderating and sharing your insightful views, sir. Thank you, all the speakers, for joining. Thank you so much.
Devanand sir, thank you very much once again for the wonderful coordination, wonderful moderation. Appreciated, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks, Shivani. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining, sir.